Hello everyone, it's Grumpy Gamer. Welcome back to another tech tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you my design for an automated chicken farm. It's a pretty cool design. It uses a lot of advanced concepts, so pretty good chance there'll be a lot of stuff in here you may not know about. But even if you do know how all this stuff works, this will still probably help you because it'll give you ideas of stuff to build. And also too, you might know what something does, but you may not have thought of a particular use for it. So this video will probably be helpful for most people. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started and I'll explain how this works. First of all, here's the chambers where their chickens are grown and processed and all that stuff. There's 4 chambers. I've labeled them red, green, blue, and yellow. Now this machine has 4 states and each cell's in a different state. But the first state is this right here. It's actually throwing eggs in this pen and it's making baby chickens. So you can see in there's a Minecraft dispenser. It's dispensing eggs. The next step is down here. These 2 cells right here is just where the chickens are going. And the final stage is right here. That's where we turn on igniters. It kills all the chickens. It cooks them. You end up getting roasted chicken and feathers, and that's what we're doing with this machine. We're just collecting roasted chicken. So let me show you down here. I have a chest for them. There we go. We're just collecting roasted chicken. Now this machine, the way it's set up right now, it's calibrated to produce 3 or 4 stacks an hour. As you can see, there's a ton of chickens in there. That's a lag looking for a place to happen, but I'm just having fun playing with it. But it's fully adjustable. You can what you can do is grow less chickens, but slow the machine down overall so that the chickens have more time to lay eggs before you kill them. But anyway, this thing is on a 2-hour cycle. So what that means is, like I say, this flame, it'll move every 30 minutes. So it'll stay here 30, then go move down there, then move down there, and move down there. So these 4 states, I'll show it to you probably in a little while, but I'll basically have to murder all the chickens to show it to you. If I speed the machine up, they're all going to get cooked. But let's say, for example, the dispenser starts there, it moves here, then it moves here. And as you can see, the flames right here, that's the very last stage where we cook them and get all the chicken. It's the final stage. So when all these states move, shift one to the right, what's going to happen, this one right here will get eggs and the flames move down. But if you notice, this chamber's empty right now. So this is actually this is the first stage and this is the last stage. But the last stage always just one ahead of the first stage. But anyway, let me show you how we harvest everything. We have transposers here. Actually, it'd be better to show you up here. I have transposers in the floor and igniters. You can see a transposer. Look at my crosshairs. There's the transposer, and there's the transposer. Now, transposers pick up everything in a 3x3 pattern, and igniters, you can see what they do. Basically, with the chickens, they'll walk into it and they get burned alive, and then they drop chickens and feathers, and the transposers pick them up. But let me show you the bottom here. I have a redstone tube connected to all of the transposers. There's 2 in each chamber, and so I have a grand total of 8 transposers. I also have a grand total of 8 igniters. Now, these transposers are on all 4 cells at once. So if anything was to drop in any of those 4 cells, they automatically get picked up. There's no reason to switch that off and on, so I just collect from all of them. As you can see, eggs are coming down from various places. There's an egg. And let me show you where the eggs go. Yeah, I gotta go right here. Here's the eggs right here. They go into this, they're coming down right here, and they're going into this chest. Now this thing's a little more kind of complicated. Let me explain this part to you. Okay, here's where the eggs go. The eggs get sucked out right here, and they go up here, and these blocks right here, the one I'm pointing at, and right here and right here, these are called retrievers. They're sort of like filters. A filter connects to a chest and basically pumps stuff directly out of a chest. The way a retriever works is it pumps stuff out kind of remotely. See, this retriever is pumping stuff, this retriever right here is pumping stuff out of that chest down here. Now in theory, these retrievers, they need a redstone pulse to make them pull stuff out of a chest, but let me show you how this retriever works down here. It was actually kind of a surprise to me. This is actually the first time I've used retrievers. I try to learn something new myself every design, so this is the first time I've used retrievers. By the way, that right there is called restriction tubes. They're not doing anything in this design. I was just playing around. But anyway, this chest right here has eggs in it, and there's 2 retrievers. I was just going to show you how this works. These retrievers need electricity to run, so right here I have some solar panels, and here you can see the power going to both retrievers. And whenever you send this thing a redstone pulse, it should pull something out of this chest. Now you can program it to pull whatever out, so I have it programmed to pull out 1 egg. Same thing down there. Now these things need a redstone pulse to pull something out of the chest, so in theory if I pulse this thing right here, it's next to this, it should pull something out of that chest down there, come down here, and send it to this retriever. So here's the thing I wanted to show you. Look where the egg goes. The egg goes to the wrong retriever, so I guess it's a bug, I don't know, but first time I've used retrievers, but supposedly they need a redstone pulse to pull something out. As you can see right here, it doesn't work that way. So I had this thing set up pretty elegant down here. I thought it was elegant. If you look right here, here's the retriever, I'm pointing at it, right directly in front of us, the dispenser, and they're both getting a pulse at the same time. So what would happen is the dispenser throws out an egg, and the retriever requests another one at the same time to replace the one you just threw. But basically the way it works is it just ignores the retrievers ignore the pulse, and they just go to the first available retriever. So let's see down here, when I first started up the machine, the pulse was down here. This one right here was pulsing off and on. Well, this retriever right here wasn't getting eggs. This retriever right here had to fill up this dispenser, and after that one filled up, then this one filled up, and then this one filled up, and finally the one that was actually requesting them was getting them. So this is something to note. Retrievers, that kind of weird when you put more than one of them on a single line. Okay, so let me show you how this the timing works. Now right here, it always starts raining when I'm recording. Okay, this is called a sequencer, right where my crosshairs are at. Stop raining. Sequencer spins around. Now I have this thing set for an interval of 1800 seconds. That's 30 minutes. Now it doesn't mean it takes this thing 30 minutes to spin around. It means it takes it 30 minutes per side. So there's 4 sides, so it takes a grand total of 2 hours to go all the way around. So as you can see, I have a red wire, a green wire, a blue wire, and a yellow wire. That represents the 4 chambers up there. Remember they were color coded? Well, here's the red chamber, green chamber, blue chamber, yellow chamber. Now this elaborate stuff around it, I know it's kind of complicated looking, but basically that's an on-off switch for the whole thing. I like to build on-off switches, and I do it with AND gates. So if you saw my tutorial on how to do an alarm, I'm doing the same thing here. I've got AND gates surrounding it, and the AND gates can turn the machine off and on. So let me do that. The machine is off. Now one thing to know is the sequencer, it doesn't have an input, so this thing is still spinning around. You can't see it because it's like a 2-hour interval, but there's no signals being sent out now, because what happens is this AND gate, I'll just show you how one works. It has 3 inputs. This thing only puts out a signal when all 3 inputs are high. So all the side inputs, if you'd like, once we turn on the switch, all this redstone wire right here, it powers all the side inputs. So the only input that's actually working is the input that's tied to the sequencer. Now when the sequencers activates a particular one, like right now it's got this one activated, that means the red wire is putting out a pulse. Now when this thing gets to, when this pointer gets to right here, it'll activate the green one, and then the red one will go off. But basically at any given time, one of these 4 colored wires is on, and so that's controlling the 4 states of the machine. But next I need a clock to make everything work. Like for example, transposers and dispensers and all that, they need pulses to operate. So every time a dispenser gets a pulse, it throws an egg. Every time a transposer gets a pulse, it picks stuff up off the floor. And so that is the white wire. I'm only using 4 colors of wire. Here it is right here. Now this is the on-off switch. Well, actually show down here. Here's the switch. You can see right here, it turns that off, but it also controls this white wire. And this white wire is going to a NOT gate that inverts the signal, and that turns the timer off and on. A timer's backwards from what's intuitive. If it's getting a high signal, it's off. If it's getting a low signal, it's on. So basically right now, the machine is off. And so if I don't send this timer a signal, it'd be spinning around. So I don't want that to happen. So I use a NOT gate, and that inverts the logic. So right now the timer is actually receiving a high pulse. You can see it right there. So the timer is off. If I flip the switch, the timer goes back on. But if you notice, it's actually not receiving a signal now. Now this next thing here, this is just a toggle latch. Now the only thing I'm using this for is I just wanted to have a square wave going into my old machines. Now what that means is, if you actually look at the timer, it only puts out a pulse very, very, very briefly. It's so fast you don't see it. But the toggle switch actually, it does two things. It divides the time in half. So if this thing's spinning around every 1.5 seconds, this thing right here is actually putting out a pulse every 3 seconds. And so I'm not worried about slowing it down. Speed, that wasn't a consideration. I just wanted a nice square wave. So 50% of the time this pulse is on, 50% of the time it's off. So that's another use for a toggle latch. Several uses for it. One is just for like a memory cell. Two, you can use it to divide a frequency in two. That's what one thing it's doing here. So this turned a 1.5 second pulse into a 3 second pulse. And finally, you can use it to make a square wave. That's a wave that's on half the time and off half the time. So that's what I'm doing there. Now here's one interesting thing to note. Now this timer right here, it's having to operate these dispensers. Timers cannot operate dispensers. They will not work. If you take a timer and hook it directly up to the dispenser will not work. You'll see it getting a pulse, but the dispenser won't kick anything out. So what you have to do, there might be other ways, but what I'm doing is I'm using just a plain Jane vanilla Minecraft NOT gate. That's this right here. It's a redstone torch. And if you look at this wire and this wire, they're in opposite states. That's called a NOT gate. And the dispensers can recognize the NOT gate signal. So that's the only reason I have this NOT gate here, is just so that the dispensers operate. Without that, they wouldn't operate. Now I don't want all 4 dispensers on at one time. I just want one on at a time. So how do I do that? Well, I'm using AND gates again. AND gates are used to turn signals off and on. So this white wire, all 4 of these AND gates are getting a clock signal. That's that pulse coming from the timer. And but if you actually look at them, the only one that's actually on is this one down here. And because the red, green, blue, and yellow wire, they're going to the AND gate too, and they're controlling it. Now I had somebody point out to me that if you want to use just 2 inputs of an AND gate instead of 3, because normally this thing has 3 inputs, here, here, and here. Like over there, I had 3 inputs. Over here, I'm only using 2. The way you do that is hold down the shift key and right click it with a screwdriver, and you can change the number of inputs, and you can change the number of inputs and which 2 inputs you're actually using. So I'm just using the one on the left side and the one in the middle. The one on the right side is null. It's not doing anything. It's just a 2 input AND gate right here. But anyway, because the sequencer's in the red state, this input's high, and that allows the clock signal to pass through, and so this dispenser operates. Now when this thing goes to the next state, which would be green, this AND gate will shut this clock signal off, won't let it pass through, but this one will. So what's happening is this thing, the sequencer down here is going red, green, blue, yellow, red, green, blue, yellow. So are these up here. These dispensers are going to go red, green, blue, yellow, and just cycle back and forth, back and forth. And down here, let me show you the next thing. What was I going to show? Oh yes, here we go. Now if you look down here, I have colored wires too: yellow, red, green, blue, and those are controlling the igniters. Now basically the way this works is right here, I'm dispensing in this one. As you can see right there, there's the eggs coming out. I want to be igniting the very next chamber, because what happens is when this chamber is empty, whenever this thing shifts, it needs to shift to an empty cell so it can restock it. So if you can see right here, I have red, green, blue, yellow on the top. Well, down here I just shifted it over one, and See, if this is the top, this would be red, but over here I shifted it one to the right. So when this thing's in the red state, the machine, the cell next to the dispenser that's active is the one that's ignited. So this thing's following the same sequence: red, green, blue, and yellow. It's just shifted one. And so as you can see right there, this thing just changed states. You can see cooked chicken and feathers going down. Now everything's going into this chest right here. Here's one thing to note: you see the feathers and the chicken. Well, there's a filter right here. Now filter, it's getting the clock signal too. Everything on this machine is running off that one clock. But here's the filter right here. It's got one feather in it, so once per cycle this thing pulls out a feather and it sends it to here. This is an energy condenser. Feather goes in here, it gets converted into EMC and turns into eggs. So after I convert these into eggs, here's another filter. This thing is programmed to suck out eggs, and it sends it right back in here into the output chest. So basically we're not wasting anything. We're taking all the feathers and turning them back into eggs. And over here we have one more filter. Sit right here. There we go. This one's sucking the roast chicken out of the chest, and it's filling this up. And I have this set pretty slow, but this thing basically it takes this thing 30 minutes to switch chambers, so it's going to take this thing a few minutes to suck everything out. But there's no speed. Now actually the whole contraption, it's a major lag fest, but it is fully adjustable. So if you wanted to use this design, feel free to make it your own, change what you want. But say for example, see how many chickens I got? That's overkill kind of. So what I could do is turn down the clock. If I turn down the clock, the dispensers don't throw as many eggs in within that 30-minute period. So like say for example over here, this timer is set for 1.5 seconds. If I set it for 3 seconds, each chamber will only get half as many chicks. Now here's the thing though. If you move the machine too fast, what will happen is they won't lay enough eggs to restock the machine. So what you can do is actually come down here to the sequencer and slow down the overall speed of the machine, and that will give them more time to lay eggs before you actually harvest the chickens. And so maybe make sure I covered everything about this. I think that may be it. Oh, here's one thing to know. I guess I did point that out. I'll go ahead and point it out again. The retrievers do take electricity to run. They use bluetricity. So here's the power system right here. Here's the solar panels. Here's a battery. The battery just stores electricity so the retrievers can run at night. But actually too, that may not even be necessary. I'm not sure, because retrievers, it looks like they have their own internal storage too. So that may or may not be necessary. I don't know. But you can see they're all four getting power. There you go. Now I think that's about it for this tutorial. I know it's a lot of advanced concepts to learn, and so if you have any questions or any ideas, any suggestions, any way to improve the machine, feel free to leave any comments, whatever you like. But anyway, also too, if you enjoy this series, if you're not a subscriber, I recommend subscribing, because I do tutorials like this all the time. Also too, if you enjoy this video, go ahead and give it a like, because the more likes a video gets, the more likely I am to do that type of video again. I do other things too. I do let's play videos of all kinds of games. So Tekkit's being pretty good to me right now, so as long as it's getting a lot of likes and a lot of views, I'll stick with it. But anyway, this is Grumpy Gamer. We will see you next time. I appreciate everybody who watched the video, likes, all that kind of stuff. We'll see you next time.